opportunity that we get a chance to hear from our Youth Caucus. And why did we choose under 30? It's just like the federal government is into youth is 29 and under, so that just seemed like a convenient number. I think our funders sort of defined that. But it was really looking at the younger members of our community. If you look at the demographics of our community here, and probably most of your communities, you sort of have the kids who are going to school, and then at 19, all of a sudden, the demographic, the model goes in, and we have very, very few people in our community who are in their 20s, 30s. It's not till they're 45 that they actually start coming back. So we really want to look at that sort of, it's almost like an apple core. We want to look at that place right there, because without that growing, we ain't got a community. So with no further ado, let me call up Alicia, who's going to sort of give a frame for what's going to happen now. Please welcome Alicia Barlow.
Hi everyone, my name is Alicia, and I have had the pleasure and privilege of facilitating the Youth Caucus over the last 4 days? Yes, 4 days. So for those of you who may not have been following the youth program, we had 3 specific youth opportunities for them to engage with each other and discuss issues that they thought were particular to the youth experience in the performing arts. So there's been a great deal of discussion, and they are going to now talk about some of the things that they have been talking about. So the conversation has been huge. We're not going to be able to address all of those issues, but they've picked out a few of them, and they've also sorted themselves into 3 groups depending on their interest in what they might have wanted to talk to you about today. So I'm not going to talk anymore, and I've said talk a lot, I can tell. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Group A.
So our group, we wanted to highlight many of the issues that surround youth in rural, remote, and isolated areas. Some of the issues that we mentioned in our group were lack of transportation, lack of resources, volunteer burnout, jobs versus lifestyle. Sound familiar? Yeah. So we thought, okay, well let's focus on another issue that seems to be mentioned quite a bit, and I kind of feel it's a little bit of a buzzword: youth out-migration. We usually think, okay, youth are leaving and that's a bad thing. But we don't actually think that that's an issue.
Part of the focus of our group was to turn these issues into opportunities. So we didn't really think out-migration was a problem as much as it was an opportunity. We think it should be encouraged. People going out and learning things from professionals and being able to communicate and network with people they wouldn't have the access to in our communities. And especially with this being the digital age that it is, we didn't think that people not being physically present in the communities was as much of a problem, because who's to stop a composer or a graphic designer to drop their files into Dropbox and then their community can access it for whatever production they may be working on. So the real problem from our point of view wasn't as much out-migration as it was immigration. So either bringing those youth back or bringing new youth back. So, Tricia will come up and explain some ideas of how we could try to do this. Thanks.
Okay, so to do this, more leadership roles should be implemented for youth in rural arts organizations, specifically on their boards. Youth can provide a different perspective, demographic information, and can play a role in succession planning in the community. As well, youth in rural areas should have access to entrepreneurial programs and training to develop business skills in the creative arts sector. Youth representation is an important issue in rural areas. Rural areas should be encouraged to create youth councils and to include youth on their existing art boards, to promote youth involvement in the community and to utilize the unique skill sets that the youth bring back to the community. So we should stop looking at youth out-migration as a problem and start looking at youth immigration as an opportunity to build and develop our communities. Thank you, that's all we have to say.